Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick, and I hope you're having a good new year so far. The first tutorial of 2020 is going to be on burnout. Not a great way to start the year out, but I have a few patients and colleagues who were feeling it back in December. So it's hard to come up with a definition for burnout. It's easy to come up with the idea of overtraining. Because most of us that have done a little bit of exercise will usually experience when it hurts too much, when the pain is prolonged. And that doesn't just mean fibromyalgia patients pushing and crashing. That means average Joes having a little more aches and pains, or a little more of a back strain than usual. Now, burnout's a little different, or overworking is a little different, because whether you're doing you're working as a physician, or you're a manager, or you're a parent, stay-at-home parent that takes care of a lot of kids, or you're a caregiver, burnout can be very subtle. And in American society, it's like, suck it up, just deal with it, because there's no other choice. Or you have no other choice, you have to work, so put the hours in and just tolerate. But that's not good in the long run. Overtraining is not good in the short run, because it can lead to severe pain, it can lead to injury. Overworking in the short run is not a big deal, because most of us can either go home and have a sanctuary away from work, or we'll have a weekend and recuperate. So that's actually what sleep is for. Sleep is for rebuilding, remodeling, taking care of inflammation, resetting for the next day, whether it's exercise or work. In the case of over scheduling and overworking, some of my patients, myself included, will do 50 hours a week, and that leaves very little wiggle room for things that you're supposed to do as far as chores, taking care of the family, being present for dinner or meals. You have to contribute that way. Otherwise, it becomes an issue with being grouchy, losing your love for normal things. In a lot of cases, my average patient won't feel burned out. They'll just have the loss of interest in watching TV, the loss of interest in going out and exercising when they know they're supposed to exercise, the loss of interest in stopping certain foods or cutting back on eating when they know they probably shouldn't be eating too much. So that's where it's very subtle, but it will escalate to the point of leading to damage, whether it's in social engagement or difficulty with being present as a parent, being present as a kid, being present as a student, problem solving, or suffering on the job. It's really bad. When you have to be, say, for example, a caregiver, and then the life of a caregiver and the person that you're taking care of, it's like you're getting very short-tempered, and you're going to injure, not intentionally, but you're going to injure the person that you're taking care of, or the kid you're taking care of, because it's like you're short-tempered, and your problem-solving skills might be hampered. So coping skills are very essential, and that's why adults, there's value in age and experience, because the more coping skills you learn, the more diversity you've been through, the easier it is to apply a solution and find one. Now, if you haven't had the experience, or haven't had the age or time, then it might be relying on other things that other people will tell you, coaches specifically. I mean, the internet's great because it's a plethora of different, you have a plethora of experience from other perspectives that you can kind of pick and choose. But they might be wise, they might be foolish. You just have to learn to choose something and apply it to your life. But one-on-one coaching is better. That's why I really uphold and I really cherish the coaches that I use in my community when I can't have to hand off my patients or my clients to other people. I think that it's not my job to string everybody along and hold their hand for a lifetime. It's my job to empower people. Well, number one, to find another set of eyes to give you a global perspective of where you are, what could be the issue. Back to our initial content of this video, burnout is very hard to recognize until somebody else tells you. Now, you could be told that by a kid, you could be told that by a friend, colleague, or you can just have everybody withdraw away from you, and you have to ask, what's wrong with me? When that introspection is turned around, or the camera's turned around on you, which is very difficult, that's why counseling is hard to get to, but it's painful. But if you can just languish in that little bit of time and you realize that there's an issue, you might be able to see the problem. But in many cases, because the people are overscheduled, they can't turn the camera around. It's just like, I gotta go to sleep, I gotta eat, or I gotta do my chores. I don't have time for that. So it is important to get a coach to evaluate. I think in the short run, if there is a way to cut back on hours at work, that's number one. There might be FMLA, that's something available through a doctor's office. Family Medical Leave Act, there might be vacation time that you can accumulate and use wisely, not just take your 2 weeks vacation now and recuperate, but take 2 weeks of vacation and actually actively take advantage of the time off by building your problem-solving skills, getting the coaches to give you a plan, design, so you can tackle the next decade of your life. Because no matter what, even if you are well learned as far as how to do your job, how to be a parent, how to be a manager, how to control people, there's going to be another challenge coming. Whether it's an external challenge as far as a new employee, a new kid, a new house, a new parent you have to take care of, or it's internal challenge like your age, an injury, God forbid. We always have to, the better prepared you are, then the better you'll do after the challenge or after the event. That's called resilience. I like the ideas that Richie Davidson comes up with as far as how we have inherent DNA to help us through resilient to certain times, and that's resilience. But some of us, the DNA is not triggered properly because of external environment, external interactions. And when that happens, it could go the wrong way and manifest as something bad. It can also go the right way, and the outcome might be great, but still, that's a chance, if you're by yourself, a chance I wouldn't take. I'd say there's a lot of opportunity for other people around you to guide you, give you a second set of eyes, or just model after. Not even interact with, but model after, and see if there's another way to tackle your scheduling. If you can't take FMLA, if you can't take any vacation time, like a parent, you can't just leave the kids with a grandparent. Well, actually you could. If you have a trusting friend or a relative, drive 50 miles and ask if they could watch the kids for a weekend. I think that weekend can still be an immersion of sorts where you can dive into remodeling just for that 2 days and then dive back in to your chores, your scheduling. And maybe if you daisy chain a couple of weekends together, you might be able to build up. In yoga teaching or yoga teacher training, it's called an immersion. In meditation, it's called an immersion, where you have these gurus that invite a lot of people from all over the world to come and experience in a truncated style how to learn what they're trying to teach you, and the craft that they've fine-tuned to get to their place of balance. And that's what it comes out to. Overtraining is not good because it leads to injuries, so you have to have a coach design an exercise routine that's well balanced. Maybe weight training for a distance runner, or maybe cardiovascular for a weight training person, or flexibility for an inflexible person. So it still takes somebody with experience to show you that, because you might be really good with what you do, your knowledge base as you're a kid, but that might not serve you in your later years with more kids. And same thing with the coping skills when you're growing up. Sometimes those coping skills with the life challenges from the past will not serve you for the future events that are coming your way. It's very complicated, but the first thing is just to surrender to the fact that there might be other ways or other people that can give you advice. If you can't take FMLA, if you can't take disability, if you can't find an immersion class, or you don't have a weekend that you can tangibly put together, there's always a way. You just might have to see if insurance covers counseling. Sometimes counseling will carve out or help a counselor if it's a good counselor. If that person's a good counselor, PhD, a psychologist, they might be able to design something for you that might pull on your heartstrings as far as engaging a relaxation practice, for example. I think stillness and mindfulness is what relaxation practice comes. Relaxation practice isn't just lying down and going to sleep. Relaxation practice is developing that part of the mind that's not always in fight or flight. And that's what burnout is you're very good with doing your jobs, but sometimes to get the job done in a matter of 10 hours, you'll have to turn on the stress response to get the job done, and that doesn't always work, or it's not always healthy. If you learn to develop your own relaxation response instead of always having a stress response, then you can intermingle that with the stressors of the day and the scheduling of the day, so it might balance itself out. And that's what it comes out to, whether it's the overtraining or the balancing with the type of exercise, or it's the 10-hour days and trying to inject about a 5-minute break period during the 10-hour days at a regular interval. One way or another, if you can get to the point where you not always fire off the stress response, not always have an adrenaline rush, and maybe balance out with serotonin, oxytocin, those are the love hormones, that's well balanced. And that'll make you actually perform the usual job that you are signed up for, but with love and vigor again. If you remember, when you first signed up, even if you did the 50 hours a week from before, most people used to love their jobs, at least being excited about the new job. And then there's a certain time when it's like, it's not exciting anymore, and you don't like it. And when you don't like it, you really have to realize, no matter what the paycheck is, the salary is, it's not worth it, because it's going to detrimentally hurt here. When you're in anguish, even if you're doing the job and paying the bills, it leads to inflammation. So cholesterol, for example, gets sticky when you're stressed out. There's many cases where when you have high cholesterol but you're in love, or you get influenza exposure and you're happy, you won't manifest the same damaging side effects. So I think there's benefit to having balance. Just have to, I guess, surrender to the fact that we might need it, and maybe find somebody good around your area. And worst case scenario, if you can't even find that or insurance doesn't cover it, the internet's available. So you might be able to, I'll put some links down below on maybe proper ways to search the internet, or at least if you're in the US, websites that do list, at least Psychology Today is pretty decent. And there's a couple coaches that graduated from my fellowship and my yoga teacher training that might be able to help you out. If not, just test the water a little bit. Try a couple different things, ask around, don't be shy. I think other people have been through that thing before that you're going through, and it just takes a little bit of admission that you might need a coach. Even my most well-versed athletes, I have a couple of Olympians, a couple of very elite athletes that do come to me. I'm not certainly an elite athlete, but I can tell from a 30,000-foot view, I'd probably add this to your training routine, or this to your sleep, or this to your vitamin regime. And if they want to take that information, great. If they don't want to take the information, I can just stand back and wait till they want to take it, because sooner or later, you're going to need the help of somebody. I'm always there for you. So